Well, hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to this cooking demo. I'm Kathy Burlow, and I'm the founder and president of PDX Veg, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Deb Kay's cooking demo on preparing plant-based recipes for picnic favorites. Deb is a certified vegan fusion cooking instructor, and she trained with Mark Reinfeld, who's the founding chef of the Vegan Fusion Institute and author of 8 cookbooks, including the 30-Minute Vegan series, and also Chef Al Chase, who is founder and director of the Institute of Culinary Awakening. And Deb runs a business called Rainbow Seasons that pops up at various events where you can enjoy her delicious seasonal vegan treats. And she also does vegan cooking workshops and demos using fresh, local, and seasonal ingredients. And as will be obvious from her demo today, Deb loves to play with her food. For her, cooking and sharing great vegan food is a daily adventure. And today, Deb is going to show us how to prepare a tempeh tuna salad and a raw cheesecake with berries. And these are delicious, fun, and perfect for a picnic. And we're recording this for people who couldn't be here today, and we'll put the video on our PDX Veg YouTube channel and also send the link to everyone who signed up for this event and our Veg Challenge. And the way that you can ask questions to Deb is by writing them in the Q&A, which is a button on the bottom of your screen. And I will read them out to Deb at appropriate times. Okay. So I'll keep my eye on that and just type them in there, and I'll repeat them to her at a good time.
Wait, you go like that and it shows up. So if you touch the mouse, it'll show up and you can see if there's questions. But
yeah, you might be able to look at it too, but don't worry, Deb, because I will check it. So I will turn it over to you.
I was letting my AV guy know.
Okay, good. So I'm turning it over to you, and it's all yours now.
Okay, well, thank you, Kathy. Hi, I'm Deb Kay, and as she mentioned, I am a vegan fusion certified cooking instructor. Vegan Fusion is a company that Mark Reinfeld and Bo Rinaldi started a long time ago to help people bring peace to their kitchen. We all have different ways of eating, and we want to bring some harmony without hurting the animals and helping the planet. And they're still doing classes. Mark, if you look up Mark Reinfeld on Facebook right now, he's doing a 4-week chef challenge where you will actually get skills to enhance your already vegan skills into chef skills. It includes 4 hours a day of video training. So I looked that up. Anyway, I started teaching Mark's classes about 11 years ago. And I've had a good time teaching at medical events, veg fests, colleges, and thank you for having me here. Kathy and Tom are the best vegan ambassadors, you might say. They sponsor these vegan challenges, as well as they cruise the local businesses and they do reviews just as good. If some of you might have heard of Happy Cow, I'd make sure that you look at PDX Veg's page also if you're thinking of going to eat in the Portland, Vancouver area. Anyway, she's asked me to, welcome to your vegan challenge, by the way, for those of you that are new. It's a lot of fun, but it can be a little bit confusing at first. There's a lot of good vegan substitutes out there for the foods that we were used to eating. The sausages, meats, cheeses. There's a lot more to choose from than when I first started my adventure about 15 years ago. I've been cooking vegan for about 17 years, but I haven't been 100% vegan until I think the last 13 or 14 years. It took a while, just like a lot of people, to give up cheese and eggs. Anyway, I finally did, got a lot of training, and I'm going to help you with some of these questions about what are we going to bring to a picnic. There's going to be meat, potato salad. How do we get through that? Or am I going to be the only vegan? If you are going to a regular potluck with your family, coworkers, good chances are you are the only vegan, if not a few vegans. And so you want to be able to bring something that you're going to enjoy eating, as well as leave on the table for other people to try who would ordinarily not try something vegan. It can be as simple as bringing a bag of carrots. Any kind of fruit and vegetable are vegan. Vegan just simply means no animal products. And there are a lot of ideas out there and recipes for things that we normally bring to a picnic. Picnic could be 2 people, a barbecue. If you're going to a barbecue and they're providing meat to have a barbecue, you want to partake, but you don't, want to be the vegan person out. There are things you can do. You can learn about tempeh, take some tempeh and marinate that, put it in foil, bring it to the person barbecuing and just ask them to make a spot for that. I've done that with asparagus, corn on the cob. I don't know what we call it now. I guess you call it a camping meal, but way back when I was a Girl Scout, we learned about a hobo meal when we were camping. We'd take foil and put potatoes and vegetables and sometimes pasta in there, a little garlic, and fold it up and throw that in the campfire. You could bring something like that to a picnic. I like to bring a couple things to a potluck or a picnic, especially if it's a non-vegan potluck or picnic, so other people can see some good stuff. Now, I did say that I'm going to teach you how to do a tempeh tuna casserole or salad, but just a couple of days ago, my friend Lynn Sargent, who has a Facebook group you might be able to join called Lynn's Vicarious Vegan Treats, she posted a really quick recipe that I thought I'd include at the last minute. These are peanut butter and jelly dates. Quick little easy thing that you can take to a picnic. And dates are very, very nutritious. These are medjool dates. I made a quick jam with chia seeds and filled them with peanut butter. I'll kind of show you how that is. This was made at the last minute. Kathy did not post the recipe, but we're going to post it with the video. It's real simple. I'm going to take a medjool date, and I want to show you what they look like for people who don't know. It's a very nutritious sweetener. They're very soft and sweet. There's usually an end cap right here that you need to take out. Also, you open it up and take out that seed. And now here I forgot I was going to fill that. We want to open this up gently. I was just going to do that. Open it up. You can see it's nice and hollow in there. I've got 2 of them to do. I'll just put a little slice in there, not all the way down. Open it up, take out that seed. And now I get peanut butter in the produce section. I either grind my own or buy the peanuts and grind them at home. That way I know there's only peanuts in there. Anyway, I'm just going to take a little bit of peanut butter and put that here. Another thing you can do with dates and peanut butter, which is really fun when you get to learning more about vegan cooking, is you can put the peanut butter or almond butter in here, or pecan butter or cashew butter, close it up a little bit and dip them in chocolate. We call that a vegan Snickers. Then I just took 1 cup of, I used blueberries. I took 1 cup of blueberries, 2 teaspoons of chia seeds, about 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, and a little dash of lemon juice. And I warmed it up until it was just simmering hard. And then I turned it off and put it in the refrigerator. So it's not a thick jam, but it is a jam. And I'm just going to put it in there. And if we put it in the refrigerator, it get cold. This has been sitting out on the counter now waiting for the class. It gets a little thick. I saw these and I thought, well, this is such an easy thing, and I have all the ingredients. So there we have some nice little treats that you can put in a little Tupperware and take to your picnic or your potluck or just eat at your house. Dates are very, very nutritious. It's the safest sugar for your system, according to the vegan supporting doctors I follow, because it doesn't dissolve in your blood system. You get a little bit of a sugar rush, but it's not going to last as much. Most of this date sweetened sugar is going to go through your digestive system, missing your blood. So There you go. There's your first treat of the day. I would pass out samples to you all if I could. Anyway, we'll put these over here. I must say, this is very strange doing this without samples and students. I haven't done too many of these online classes, so I am going to be a little bit clumsy here. So let's start with our tempeh tuna salad. I don't know if you all looked at the recipe or printed it out. I'm just going to go through it. This is a tempeh mock tuna salad. It's going to get its seafood flavor from seaweed, and we'll talk about that when I go down the ingredients. You can leave the seaweed in and keep that tuna flavor, or you can keep it out and it'll be more like a chicken salad. It's got all the same wonderful ingredients. We're going to season it with gluten-free tamari, lemon juice, fresh garlic. I'm going to be using wakame seaweed flakes, red onion, celery, garlic dill pickles that I've done myself. Oh, we've got all the ingredients here. That's fine. And then now the recipe calls for a cup of vegan mayonnaise. I got to talking to Kathy and I was thinking, and a lot of people are going oil-free these days and would ask me, the first question would be, can we make this recipe without mayonnaise? So this morning I went searching and I found an easy mayonnaise without oil and without tofu. I looked up in the recipe, most of the recipes I looked up call for tofu or cashews, but if you are going oil-free, nuts are oils. And I know that a lot of you who are going oil-free would like this. So I'm going to include this recipe also. This is another one I made quickly this morning. This is just a can of white beans that I drained and rinsed, just some great northern beans. I put in about 1.5 tablespoons of lemon juice, a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, I think probably 1 teaspoon of maple syrup. It was just a little bit, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder and 1/2 teaspoon of Dijon mustard, a little salt. And you know, it's a hummus, but it will work as an oil-free mayonnaise for our recipe. Tempeh. Let's talk about tempeh. Now, the first ingredients on the list is 2 cups of vegetable broth. That's because we're going to use that to steam the tempeh. It's not going to be part of the recipe. I'm going to go grab something. Let's see, I have a tempeh in there. I want to show you. Tempeh and tofu are some of the first ingredients that you get confused over when you're a new vegan or new vegetarian. What's the difference? They're both soy. We don't know what they are. Tempeh is a cultured product, usually made with soybeans. And this is what it looks like when it comes out of the package. I think you can see it pretty good. It's been cultured. It's been cultured at a low temperature slowly. And it's raw when you get it. So usually I steam it for 10 minutes before I use it. You can steam it in water. The recipe said to use vegetable broth. You don't have to. You don't have to stick to anything in a recipe, by the way. We'll talk about that. But anyway, this here, I keep it at home. It's a veg base. It's powder. And it's got all kinds of vegetables in it, low sodium, gluten-free. And just like 1 teaspoon in a cup of water will have veggie broth anytime you want it. You can also make it with your own scraps. Yesterday I used mushroom broth. And how I got this is that my friend, owns Blue Sky Fungi, and she sells dried mushrooms at the Silverton Farmers Market. I buy these all through the summer and stash them. This is a coastal blend. She's got something else. And then when I want mushrooms in the wintertime or anytime, I just rehydrate these and use these. And what I did with these is I put this whole package, I think it's 2 ounces, no, 1 ounce of dried mushrooms. It's a combination of lion's mane, lobster, and oyster mushrooms. I put it in my Instapot with water for a half an hour, and it makes the most wonderful, rich mushroom broth. And then I use that for cooking. So there's a couple ideas for the broth to steam your tempeh. Now, tempeh is generally made with soybeans. And it used to be, boy, in the 80s or whenever I started eating vegetarian, that was the only choice we had. Now there's all kinds of tempeh for people. The one I'm using for this recipe is Tofurky's Treehouse Tempeh. It's an organic 5-grain. It's made with, they're down here. This one, of course, has soybeans, but it also has brown rice, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, millet, apple cider vinegar. There's tempeh out there made with quinoa, a couple other things, a lot of beans. You have Squirrel and Crow that in Portland who sell really nice different tempehs at the People's Co-op there. So you don't have to just stick to one. So anyway, I steamed it. This is 8 ounces of steamed tempeh in that mustard broth. And then I just grated it like this. So we've got a nice bowl. Now, if you didn't want to use this at all, you couldn't find it, you don't know what it is, you could use chickpeas for this recipe. You just cook your chickpeas until they're firm, or grab a couple cans of chickpeas, rinse them, drain them, rinse them, drain them, save that water. That's good for other things. And you could put your chickpeas in here and mash them up and use those instead of tempeh if you didn't have tempeh. And to this, we're going to add a 1/2 cup of minced red onion. I've got a whole cup of chopped dill pickles. Now, these are New York dill pickles that I made myself, but you could use your favorite. You could use anything you want. You could use sweet pickles. I've used sweet pickle relish. So you want to make this salad, you don't have pickles in your refrigerator, but you've got a little bit of relish in there, grab that. I've used different pickled vegetables that I've had in the refrigerator because I didn't have pickles. So I'm letting you know, you don't have to stick exactly. So this is pretty much all the vegetables in this recipe. We've got our tempeh, not a vegetable, that's a legume, excuse me, beans. Our red onion, our celery. Oh, we don't have our celery, excuse me. And I've got a cup of chopped celery in here. So I'm going to mix these together. And this is a gluten-free recipe. I'm using a metal spoon or a silicone spoon. I learned this the hard way doing hands-on classes. If you're cooking for your gluten intolerant friends, you have or yourself, you don't want to use wooden spoons. Wooden spoons if you've been cooking with wheat, because I learned, where is that? Gluten hides in here. So you're going to a picnic, other people are sharing this. You're not gluten-free, but somebody at that picnic might be. I would not use a wooden spoon. That's just a weird tip that I knew. So let's make this sauce. We have, over here, 2 tablespoons of tamari. You can use any kind of soy sauce. I use tamari because it's gluten-free, and I don't know who's going to be eating my food, so I want to make sure that it's gluten-free. I'm trying to think of the other name for soy sauce. There's another name, no.
Shoyu.
Shoyu, yes, shoyu. So you could use your favorite. Then I've got 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. I did not use fresh lemon juice. You can use organic bottled lemon juice, is fine. We live in the Pacific Northwest, and sometimes our lemons are hired or expensive, and it's okay to use organic bottled lemon juice. What do we have here? A clove of garlic. And this is fresh garlic. I'm going to show off in a minute. This came from my garden. It looks white when you peel it. Look at that. This is an organic Vietnamese red, and they say it's got a really mild flavor and shouldn't overpower our recipe. Now let's talk about the seaweed. We're going to use 2 tablespoons, I think 2 tablespoons, 1 tablespoon of seaweed flakes. And for this recipe, I like to use wakame. You're going to get to the store. Now, you're not going to find these at Fred Meyer. You're going to have to go to New Seasons, Whole Foods, the Market of Choice, those kinds. You're not going to find all this great seaweed at a conventional grocery store. The wakame I'm using for this recipe because it has more of an ocean flavor. I like that. I have ground it up. Let me show you what it looks like. It's dehydrated. And you see the nice little squigglies here. I have ground it up, and that's what we're going to use in our recipe today. 1 tablespoon. I'll put that in there. Now, I want you to be careful because the first time I ever used this, I had been to Mark's cooking class, and we made this great vegan clam chowder, and we used this to season it. And I got home and I said, well, that's not very much. I'm going to double that stuff. Oh, this is seaweed. Big, long, dehydrated strands. Oh my God, it was the most terrible soup I ever made. So be careful with this and be sure to measure it because this little bit of seaweed is going to rehydrate big. Anyway, so wakame is my favorite to give it a seafood flavor. If you're going to make like a mock clam chowder or a seafood cioppino, this one's the one that's going to be that kind of flavor. There's another seafood that you're going to, or seaweed you're going to see in this section, and it's called dulce. And this looks like this. It's kind of a brown flavor, and you see the big leaves. If you toast this gently in your microwave, 6-7 minutes, you can make a BLT. This stuff tastes like bacon when you toast it without doing anything to it. You don't have to marinate it or anything. So this, you're going to make maybe a vegan potato salad for your picnic. I would take some of this, toast it a little bit and crumple it up, throw that in your potato salad. Nobody will know it's vegan. Wow, it tastes like bacon. Yes, it does. I like to hashtag vegan food is not boring. And then here's another useful seaweed for your vegan kitchen. This is called kombu. And we put this in our beans to help with that flatulence situation. It will add a little gelatinous to your pot of beans or your pot of soup, but it also seems to mellow out the gas situation. When you're a new vegan, people seem to have trouble with that. And this, if you put a strip or a square of this kombu in your pot of beans, it should help with that. And then I had to digress with that because I got to that part of the recipe and I went, seaweed, that's one of those weird ingredients that scares new vegans and new vegetarians. What are we going to do? There's a lot of them that you can have fun with. Okay, so we've got in here, we have our soy sauce, our lemon juice, our garlic, our seaweed flakes. So that's just about everything. I'm just going to give that a little spin. And now I'm using a wooden spoon, but I'm not going to feed this to anybody that's gluten intolerant. There we go. We need our mayonnaise. Now, there's a lot of good vegan mayonnaise out there. I like Follow Your Heart veganese. There are quite a few recipes out there to make your own. I'm using this oil-free that I made with the beans. Many of the recipes for your own mayonnaise call for silken tofu. And I'll show you what that looks like. Whoop, right behind you. This is what silken tofu looks like. It's usually in the refrigerated section, say by the tofu and yeah, of course, tofu. By the tofu stuff and everything. That's where you're going to find that. Oh, it was always refrigerated, even though you don't need to refrigerate it. You don't need to refrigerate that until you open it. That's why I like to buy this. I will buy extra firm, maybe a box of 10 or 12 and to keep them on hand. And we make puddings and things with this tofu. If you're new to this vegan cooking and you're learning about it, you're in for a fun ride. There's so many fun things you never thought you could do because we were told we couldn't. Okay, so now I've got my tempeh mixture with all the vegetables I need. I'm walking funny because I have my biggest fan, who's 80-pound lab, is right behind me under my feet. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in there. And I had some young people over for dinner this last winter. They came up during the day and I gave them the grandma treatment with tuna salad and tomato soup. So I'm just going to stir that up. I might need a little bit more of my mayonnaise, and that's okay because it's just beans and pretty much fat free. I'm thinking my beans aren't as oily as the mayonnaise, so I needed a little bit more. There we go. And let that sit in the refrigerator, make it a little bit ahead of time so you've got that nice flavor. But you've got nothing in here that you can't leave on the table that's really going to go bad real quickly. It'd be a danger food for foodborne illness. So that's nice for picnics. And now the biggest hint of all. Where is my scoop? Can I have a big scoop? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some of this in this bowl. This is how I might serve it. We'll put it in this bowl. Let's add some tomatoes. So your friends could come along, grab one of these, and make a sandwich out of it in a minute. I have to find my garnish. Now, the rules of garnish are usually you should garnish with something that's in the recipe, unless it's black sesame seeds, because they're just so cool. Look at that. Just a little bit wakes it right up. So another serving suggestion I had here. What was I going to do with this? I'm going to put a little bit on the toast. I had some focaccia bread in my refrigerator. So I thought I'll toast a little bit. What I did is I rubbed roasted garlic on here. Toasted these a little bit. And you could serve them that way. This is one of the reasons I miss students. Somebody's going to have to eat all this. Okay, and then I have a couple other was trying to find another way you can eat this too. I don't want to mess this up. But you just grab this. Oh, wait, we'll leave that pretty. We're going to grab that and we're going to put it in the lettuce and roll that up. And then one more way that's kind of neat to serve this. Is I'm going to take the top out of this tomato. Oh, I'm going to trip over the dog. Cut it a little bit in the top. Not all the way through. And then we'll open that up a little bit. Ooh, I have to cut it a little bit through. Need to be a little more prepared than I am right now. There you go. All right, then I would do that. And then you stuff it. Put that on there. Now, my biggest hint of all, if you're going to a potluck or picnic, is to put this stuff on the table and leave. Do not tell anyone that it's vegan. Do not use that V word. Just say, hey, here's a little tempeh tuna salad, or just leave. And when people start saying, my goodness, that was really good what you brought, then you could talk about the vegan. But the vegan word and the vegetarian word scares people right away. They won't try your food. But look how nice that is. What do you mean they won't try that? There you go. Tempeh tuna salad and a few ways to serve it. I will have somebody eat that for you after we're done because I cannot chew anything and cook at the same time and talk. Are there any questions yet?
Not at the moment. You've been so clear, but it's hard not to be able to eat that stuff. It looks so good.
Okay, well, when you're done, it's only about, where do you live, Kathy? It's hour and a half drive.
Yeah.
I have a very good refrigerator. So we'll put this here. I think my cameraman and his partner and my husband are gonna be good judges later. So I'm gonna do a quick change up here and then we're gonna make some cheesecake. What do we want to do? We need to get these out of here. Haven't done this in a while. Take that food away. Picnic's over. Okay. This is why I brought this, I think. Quick stage change. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Put that there. This probably needs to go in the bowl so we don't lose it. Eat it. Eat it. All right, Scott, may I give this to you? The whole thing, you figure out what to do, take it in the bedroom. I don't care right now. All right, quick change here. What a mess I made already. All right, let me take this. Here, this will keep you here. This is what we're going to be making next as soon as I change the scenery here a little bit. This is a blueberry cheesecake. Blueberry lime cheesecake. Okay, some of you know, I used to have a little food cart in St. John's called Rainbow Seasons. Rainbow Seasons. And it was very, very, very hot summer. Like, you know, way in the high 90s. I said, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Everything's going to melt. And I decided to take this cheesecake recipe that was really cute and I put it in muffin tins and sold them frozen. So this is a perfect picnic or potluck recipe because you can take it out of the freezer. I picked this out of the freezer before the class and it's just now starting to get soft. This will hold up through your picnic and it's quite refreshing. Also, very, very low in sugar. Okay, how are we going to do this? We're going to start. We're going to start for you folks who looked up the recipe and printed it out. I have a correction right away. I wrote down that I was going to make this instead of in a 6 or 7 inch pan, I was going to make 6 cupcakes. This recipe actually makes 12 cupcakes or 12 individual cheesecakes. Now the recipe, let me find it. It's a blueberry lime cheesecake. You can use any fruit you want. Berries, of course, work well, especially now. We've got blueberries, raspberries, and hopefully I'm going to find some more marionberries to put in my freezer soon. You can use whatever berries you want. I chose blueberries because that's what I just happen to have a lot of right now. It also talks about using a 7-inch springform pan. I remember when I started baking and doing these kinds of games, raw cakes were always in these pans. I can't find them. You go to Joann's or you go to the hobby store and you go to the wedding cake supply section. I couldn't figure out where I was going to buy this. I was thinking maybe toys. So if you want to play with these, the little ones are going to find in the wedding cake supply section. But we're going to make cupcakes. So this recipe calls for walnuts and almonds. If you're a no oil, no nut person, or you're allergic to either ones, there's some good recipes out there I've got for you. You could use oats, oat flour, oat flour and brown rice flour. You can use almond flour. So, well, no, not if you're nuts. But anyway, there's brown rice flour and oat flour recipe out there I can help you with if you're allergic to nuts or you want to do that nut free. Today we're going to use the nuts though. We're again going to use our medjool dates. You can use this is for the crust. You can use the naglet door. I don't know how you say it, door naglet or the usual dates they sell. I don't remember what order the words are, but in the store you see those all the time. You can use those dates, but they're very, very hard, usually very firm and not as sweet. So I really like you to use the medjool dates if you can. You could use apricots, you could use raisins, you could pretty much use any dried fruit instead of the dates. It's just that one date I don't like to play with for baking or making. What is it? The naglet door. I think that's what it's called. That's the one you generally see. Ground vanilla beans or extract. It's really hard to find vanilla beans these days. So you're going to be using vanilla extract. And later we can talk about that because I have a vanilla bean connection in Kauai. My friend actually has a vanillery and I make my own. So we'll talk about that. I have vanilla beans. But that's all that's going to be in that crust. Walnuts, almonds, medjool dates, vanilla beans, a little bit of salt. And then our cheesecake filling, we're going to be using cashews that I have soaked overnight. A lot of recipes, I'll say that you don't have to soak your nuts overnight, maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes. But for our cheesecakes, I do like to soak my nuts overnight because they get cleaner, whiter. You get more of the shell and any of the fiber stuff off of there, and your cheesecake's going to look pretty and white. So, and be very creamy because you want those nuts soft. So I do soak them overnight for a cheesecake. I'm going to be using maple syrup. You could use agave, or for a 1/4 to a 1/3 cup of sweetener, you could use 3 to 4 soaked dates. If you wanted to stay away from all processed sugar, I would take 3 or 4 dates, soak them in water until they're soft, and use those in your recipe instead of these sugars. Save that soaking water, because if you need a little bit more water, that water has a lot of nutrients from the dates. If you don't use it in the recipe, I'd suggest you drink it or use it in your coffee. Anyway, so then we're going to use some more vanilla extract. I'm using fresh lime juice. You could use lemon juice in this recipe if you wanted. Say you were using strawberries instead of raspberries or blueberries. Lemon juice is a good pair with strawberries usually. Now we're using a 1/3 cup coconut oil. This is probably the worst unhealthy item in this recipe, but remember, you're not supposed to eat the whole cheesecake, just one piece. If you want to leave that out completely, that'll be fine, but this is what's going to hold this recipe. This is what's going to bind it as cheesecake. So if you left out that coconut oil, that would be fine, but I would change the name to mousse or pudding or parfait. You could make the crust, make this without your coconut oil, and then alternate those in a cup and call it parfait. See, what do you say? There's no mistakes in vegan cooking. We just call it something else. If if we burn the spices, we call them toasted. What else is it?
Can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, we'll just change the name if we don't like the way it turned out. That's the beauty. We're not cooking it a lot. So let's get to doing it. I've got an extension cord here. Okay, first I'm going to be using my food processor. If you have the Blendtec or the Vitamix, you can use that for the crust, but be careful. You have to be really, really good not to get nut butter. Even with the Vitamix on the slow speed, it's still kind of hard to get that slow enough so that you don't end up with nut butter. We're going for crust. So that's why I'm using my food processor. I don't know if you need to see it. Where's my ingredients? Oh, there. And I think I'm doing a lot of talking, but these recipes are so simple. Once you have, most of the recipes I like to make are designed to be 30 minutes or less, but that doesn't count. No, I want that. That doesn't, oh, you want to see it? That doesn't count running around your kitchen and getting everything. You got to get, this is your mise en place. Get everything together, measure your ingredients, find it, and then the recipe goes together so quickly. 1, 2, 3. So what I'm doing is I'm going to start with the almonds first because they're harder. So I'm going to start. Okay, I can't do it backwards anymore. I used to be good at this, doing it backwards. Give the almonds a little head start because they're a little bit harder than these walnuts. Walnuts, by the way, are so nutritious for you. But as one of the doctors I follow told me, the worst place for these to eat, the worst recipe for nuts is in your hand. Because when we have nuts in our hands, we eat them mindlessly. So we want them in a recipe so we get our nuts and we get all the nutrition, but we don't get too much. That's a Dr. Bernard thing. Hang around long enough, find out who those people are. So here we go. These are almonds and walnuts that I'm going to grind to like a sandy consistency. That should be enough, a little bit more. Okay, so see if we can see that. That's about, where is it? There we go. Up a little bit more. Whoops. There we go. So I'm looking for a sandy consistency. And, it's like really, some of it's powdery. And that's why I'm using this because it's really close to being nut butter if I go too fast. And I don't want that. So to these nuts, I'm going to add dates. 1 cup of medjool dates. My magic number for medjool dates is 12 dates for a cup. So if your recipe calls for half a cup, 6 dates. Anyway, these are nice and fresh dates. They're very, very gooey because I left them out at room temperature. Now, these are the seeds. And this is a very important point. One of these did not have a seed. But if you have 12 dates before you run your food processor, make sure you have 12 seeds. I only have 11, and so I went through them again. There was only 11. One of them didn't have one, which is kind of normal, that it could happen. But if, say, you have 8 dates, you want 8 seeds, because you're going to find out the hard way in your blender if you don't. It's an ugly sound. It won't wreck your blender, I don't think, or your food processor, but it sure sounds like it will. So I've added the dates. We're going to let that blend around until it kind of comes up to the sides and start looking like it's going new. I'm going to wash my hands. Okay. Now I went a little bit too far, if that's okay. It is a little bit gummy. It's because of those moist dates, I think. Anyway, so you want to take this around until it starts sticking together. This actually, the dates were actually too soft, but I'm not going to mind this at all. It will firm up in the refrigerator. So at this point, you could stop right now and say you have a dessert. All you have to do is take these, roll them into balls. Look at that. You just take that mixture, roll it into a ball. You could roll this in coconut. You could roll it in cacao, cocoa, or just like that. Go up, or take it in cacao nibs and coconut. Put those on the plate, and there you go. There's a nice dessert right there. It's just like a little, oh, what do you call those candy bars? Anyway, it's dates and nuts. That's all it is. So you can stop right there. Or we're going to go on with our cheesecake prep. Or we're going to make our cheesecake. Get my hands washed. This is going to be hard. God, can you help me with something? I need a washcloth, a damp washcloth that I can wash my hands through to do this, okay? Okay, because I got it too gooey. Okay. What I've got in here is about a 1.5 2-ounce scoop. I'm going to scoop a little bit of this mixture. If you want to trade this for the blender, that'd be great. I'm going to scoop a little of this mixture into the bottom of each one of these. You find it. I'm not going to join you. There you go. There's enough for 12 of them. Now, if you're doing it in the cheesecake pan, I would put a little parchment paper on the bottom and then just press this into the pan. Thank you very much. Yeah, if you want to trade that for the blender, that would be great. How are we doing on time?
You're good.
Okay, good. Oh, good. We'll get this done. We have a little better technology at my house than the first time I tried this. But I did remember, gosh, I missed doing the in-person class because some of you came early to help me set up. Some of you stayed and helped with the class. And then you all helped eat this food and help clean up. There we go. So I'm not going to worry about it exactly fitting because this is just glass. Okay. Thank you. And then, of course, this is for you. All right. So now I'm wetting my hands a little bit to help not stick. So a good, Scott, can you put a little bit of water in the bottom of this? Having a little dish of water next to you when you're working with this is kind of a good idea because it'll help it not stick to your hands. So what I'm doing is putting a little bit of this in each one of these. And sometimes I use the unbleached cupcake wrappers. And one of the reasons I like taking these to a picnic rather than the cheesecake pan is because I like to not mess with things if I'm going to a potluck or picnic. You know, if you take that stuff, if you take a whole cake, then you got to think about, all right, now I need a serving utensil. I need something to help cut it up. And then other people are going to touch other people's food. I like this because it's individual. You just go by, grab one. You're going to share it. You're usually sharing it with somebody you know. There we go. The less you touch the food, the better, and the less it sits out. So this is our crust. And we can set that aside now, or you can put that in the freezer to get a little bit hard while you make the filling. But the filling goes so quick, I'll just leave it here. So there's our crust. You can put it in here, and it made 12 of them. Very good. We'll put that over there. The next thing we're going to do is make our filling. Now I have a Blendtec. I actually have a Blendtec and a Vitamix, but I like my Blendtec better. I keep them both because I know if I get rid of that Vitamix, this one's going to break, and I don't have the money to buy a whole new one all over. I've had this, knock on wood, I think 16 years. So I love it. I have in here 2¼ cup cashews that I have soaked. Now cashews, broken pieces. I've seen somebody say you have to have whole ones to keep your recipe together. I don't understand that at all. You're going to blend them all the same. Broken cashews are always about $3 cheaper a pound. And Winco always has cashews about $6 a pound. I soak theirs for sure, you know, but they're not organic, but it's fine. You can't always afford that. I mean, organic is what we want to strive for, but sometimes we can't always afford it. I don't worry about organic or non-organic cashews. I am using organic because I got a great deal from Azure Foods. I got a broken box for half price. But I'm saying that don't worry all the time if it's not going to be organic. Which reminds me to look, I don't know if the other chefs mentioned it, but look for your Dirty Dozen on the internet and keep that on your phone. That ranks fruits and vegetables from top to bottom, the worst after they're peeled and washed, how much pesticides they still have, herbicides they still have in them. And that rates fruits and vegetables and tell you which ones you should be eating organic and which ones you shouldn't. It doesn't change too much, but it often changes the ranking of them. So there's certain things like strawberries, apples, tomatoes, I will always eat organic. But then there are certain things like avocados or melons. You don't always have to buy organic. So if you're in the grocery store, you're trying to make financial decisions. Yep, we're new to vegan, and here we are with this cucumber, and one of them costs 33 cents and one of them costs $1.50. Why? You know, it's mostly a lot of regulation and paying for permits and things, but there are certain vegetables fruits and vegetables you don't always have to eat organic. Anyway, it used to all be organic. Let's get back to the recipe. I'm sorry, I digressed. So here's our cashews. To that, I'm going to add a 1/3 cup maple syrup. That's my sweetener of choice. agave, maple syrup, they're still sweeteners. They're still on the spectrum of sugar. You just got to use it sparingly. The thing that I like about maple syrup and agave is it's a little less processed than sucanat or organic sugar, the cane sugar, and it has a little bit more of the nutrients. Believe it or not, maple syrup has good nutrients, and so does sugar. But after it's been processed a while, there's none left, usually. We've got 2 teaspoons vanilla extract, and I know I have some of that. My vanilla comes from my friend's farm in Kauai, and they grow pompano vanilla beans, which originated in Chile. We want 2 teaspoons of this. Anyway, that industry was sort of squashed a little bit because they've hybridized the vanilla bean that you usually see. And this is kind of like a comeback industry. So look up Pompano vanilla bean. My friend's farm is the Vanillary of Kauai. And they grow their own vanilla beans, both kinds, hand pollinated, hand picked. They grow cacao. I got to house it one year and picked my breakfast every day. It was wonderful. Now we have a 1/4 cup of lime juice. I did squeeze this morning because we needed the zest too. And I have a 1/3 cup of melted coconut oil over here. Coconut oil is a saturated fat that we should be eating sparingly. I'm not against oils, but I'm a low oil person. And then 1 teaspoon lime zest. I want to show you. I really have run across people that didn't know where zest came from. And so it's just a small microplane, and the zest is not all the way down. You just scrape off the outer layer of the citruses, lemon, oranges, limes. So a lot of good oils in there and flavor. And this is one of the tips I got when I spent a week with Chef Al when I was learning to cook vegan. Yes, he told me, every time you get a lemon, lime, or an orange, zest the whole thing before you use it. Put it on a plate and let it dry out, and then keep it in a baggie or a container in your freezer. And that way, whenever you want a little citrus flavor, you always have a little zest around. Yeah, so that's that. And I'm going to put, now I do a lot of eyeball measuring, but when I'm working with you, I want you to measure, and I even measure a lot because I'll get heavy-handed, and if I want this recipe to taste the same as it did last week, I gotta measure. So there's our lime zest, a little bit for garnish, and we might be ready to give this a whirl. We've got in here raw cashews soaked overnight, maple syrup, vanilla extract, lime juice, coconut oil, and lime zest. And let's hope this does a good job. Okay, I am going to do it one more time. Now in a live class, I always used to say this was a good time for asking questions, and I turned it on. I was just thinking it'd be nice if we had one of those cameras on the ceiling so you could see them here and see how nice and smooth that is. There we go. Anyway. Then I'm going to take, and I'm just going to fill these halfway. See, there's about a cup left. Anyway, we could go through and do all 12 of them. I'm going to put that in the refrigerator for right now. So at this point, I would
Not necessary.
that's okay. I would fill all of them, but for now and for the time of the class, I'm just going to fill 6 of them. And then you put these in the freezer. I'll be right back. While they're in the freezer, I'm going to take a cup of blueberries and I'm going to mix it with the other half of this cream cheese mixture, leaving some for garnish. So I'm going to put most of these in here with the other half of the blueberry mixture. And you could use, like I said, raspberries, strawberries. I made a strawberry one. There's a picture of strawberry ones on the event that Kathy posted. Oh, it tastes so nice and fresh because all you've got going here is lime juice, cashews, a little bit of maple syrup, and the fruit. Hey, I don't know what we say these days because I don't think many people watch TV. Do we say the magic of streaming, the magic of video? They're already frozen. What do you know? The ones we just put in a refrigerator are already frozen. Wrong. I made them the other day. We took. This is very hard just doing this with one person, remembering there's other people in the room I can't see. So here are the blueberries mixed with the rest of the cream cheese. I'm gonna take that and add it to the top. of each one. We'll of course add this blueberry cheesecake to those other ones after the class. So now I've got my second layer on top of my frozen layer. And it doesn't take too long to make these. And then they stay real stable in your refrigerator. After you've frozen them and you take them out and you put it in your refrigerator, it stays nice and stable. It'll be kind of thick, just like cheesecake you want. Yeah, if you leave these frozen and put them in your cooler right before you leave, I bet they're going to be perfect by the time your guests got to them. So I'm going to put this over here. And then where are the ones I reserved? You can put a little bit of decoration on there. It looks all fancy and pretty. And you know, how much sugar did we add? 1/3 of a cup to the entire recipe. All right, we have some saturated fat in there, 1/3 cup for the entire recipe. And you only eat usually one or half of those. And there you go. So that's going to go in the freezer. And I will return after I do that. And then Scott, you want to help me bring out our dishes for the finale? So there are the ones I made before the class. So this one, like those, I took out. By the way, I made these with little paper. See how well that works? You want it to be not touching them at all. Now, this was taken out of the freezer right before this class. Ta-da! See how that is? We got all the layers in there. And here, I'm going to eat it. I love it. Woody, taste of cheesecake. Scott, taste of cheesecake.
Very nice.
I
Delicious.
wish I could give you all a sample.
I wish we could have it too. It looks really
There you
good.
go.
Looks so
Anyway,
good.
it's very impressive, but very simple. Now, I want you to put your stuff on the table. You don't have to tell anybody you decided to eat vegan. You're just going to come up, put down all the wonderful food and walk away. And then enjoy the dinner, because if there's nothing else for you to eat, guess what? Now you've got some tuna salad and dessert. A lot of times you'll find fruit and vegetables you can eat, but a lot of people, be careful, a lot of people think Parmesan cheese is not vegan. You can get a vegan pizza at Domino's if you ask for the gourmet vegetarian with red sauce and no cheese. But then they'll always say, not even Parmesan? Because people don't think that's cheese. And guess what? If you buy that in a jar in the store, it's probably mostly cellulose and it's not cheese anyway. There's my little opinion on that. Thank you everybody for being here, and thank you for trying this challenge. If that's what you're doing, not trying, you're doing the challenge. There are 3 main reasons people decide to go vegan: the health, the animals, and the planet. It doesn't matter which one you choose first. Don't let anybody bully you about you're not vegan because you're trying to be healthy and that whatever. Do what works for you. Because if you don't, it's not going to work. You're not going to keep it up. I started for my health. I am the only sibling out of 5 children that does not have any form of diabetes, including my mother, her sister, her father. Around my mid-30s, I thought, oh my gosh, I better do something about this. And so I started for my health. I was very lucky. I had a doctor who kind of looked at me and said, you think you could get rid of dairy? You know, and she wasn't even allowed to talk like that back then. And guess what? I finally saw that doctor again as I was doing a demonstration at a Veg Fest event. And I thought that was really neat. I don't have any form of diabetes, but once you walk in the door, you're going to find the other reasons. I would never eat a dead animal. I would never wear leather shoes. So you come in for one reason, the others are going to follow. So don't worry about that. We're all here to help you out. If you're new to this, it can be kind of daunting because you're out there, you want to do fine, you go to a restaurant and you can't figure out what you should eat, or you get embarrassed. Just tell them you're allergic. I'm allergic to dairy. And they will help you out, no problem. You start telling them you're a vegan and they start looking at you like there's nothing to eat. That's just my little tip. Anyway, good luck to you. Are there any questions?
There's just been a lot of compliments. Everybody's enjoying what you've done, and I have too. So
Really?
yeah, no, of course. I mean, it's just all the information's been great, and it's been fun, and just thank you so much. It was great. And if
Good, maybe I'll do it again.
yeah. If anybody has any other things to say or whatever, please write them in now because we're nearing the end. So I'll give you.
Oh, I want to mention that I'm going to be doing hands-on classes and in-person classes pretty soon at a place called Kelly's Home Center in Salem. I'm not exactly sure with the date, but I think probably in September. And Kathy will let you know, and I will too. I have an Instagram called Likes to Play with Her Food. And then if you want to follow me on Facebook, most of my posts are all about the food I'm cooking or things I'm learning.
Sounds great. Well, thank you so much. You did a wonderful job and we all really enjoyed it.